This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, thanks so much for joining me. I've got a brief chat with Serena Cherry from Svalbard to share with you. Now the catalyst for the conversation is a new album from the group. It is their fourth. It is titled The Weight of the Mask. And throughout this conversation here, yes, of course, we talk all about the catalyst, the differences between this album and the previous one, When I Die Will I Get Better, the collaboration with the Ranch Production House, their creative process, lyrical themes, it's all here. Including some insights from their shows with Russian Circles and Cult of Luna. And will they tour Australia? Well, she answers that question. So I have picked a tune for your listening pleasure before we dive into the chat. This one's called Faking It. Of course, it's from the new album. Once it's done, we'll dive into the conversation. Let's go.
There is
What else has been going on? Are you guys on tour or anything like that at the moment?
Yeah, we're playing, doing the summer festivals at the moment. So we played Greenwich and Open Air last weekend. We're off to Alcatraz in Belgium this weekend. And then we play Arctangent the week after that. So yeah, there's been loads of cool festival shows. We got to play Hellfest this summer as well, and Full Force. They were both really good. And then we're doing another tour in October, which, UK and Europe dates there.
How was Hellfest? I saw you did that festival.
Oh, it was the best thing ever. Like, I love Hellfest so much, and it almost didn't feel real to actually be there to play. Great atmosphere, so much to do. Like, you could go there and do all the kind of appreciate all the entertainment side there without even watching bands. Like, it's just, I know before I went, everyone always called it Metal Disneyland, and I was like, it can't be that good, but it really is.
That's fantastic. Was that a bucket list thing for you?
Definitely, yeah. Hellfest was very, very high up on the bucket list, so it feels amazing to be able to have done that.
Did you do a tour or just a show with Russian Circles and Cult of Luna?
Oh, we did a whole tour. We toured for 2.5 weeks with Cult of Luna and Russian Circles, which was absolutely incredible. Two of my favourite bands, so couldn't really ask for anything more than that. And it went really well.
Talking to the fans, what was their reaction like with the new album? Was there a lot of anticipation amongst the people you were talking to?
There have been, so on that tour specifically, I think we were actually playing because we were obviously the opening band. We were playing to people who hadn't heard of us before and who were Cult of Luna fans or Russian Circles fans who had discovered us through that tour. So there was definitely a lot of newcomers who would come to the merch and ask which album to buy as a starting point. So that's always really nice to see, to hear that you're on a tour and you're reaching new ears. But they're also, I think I see it more on social media, sort of people asking when the next album's going to be, and getting, now that it's announced, getting super hyped for it, which is incredible.
Do you feel a bit like one of those those 10-year overnight sensations, given you've got the buzz around this album here, The Weight of the Mask, and it's your fourth album, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I absolutely feel the opposite of a 10-year overnight sensation. I feel like we've very slowly been climbing this sort of mountain for 11 years. We've been a band for 11 years, and it definitely doesn't feel like it happened overnight. It feels like things, we noticed. The first album reached new people, and then the second album, after the second album was the first time we'd play shows and people would be singing the words back, and that was a real kind of moment for me, a special moment for me. And then with the third album, we noticed kind of more mainstream press talking about us, and it just reaching much further and wider than we'd had before. And so with the fourth album, it just feels like the next logical step. I don't feel like I woke up and suddenly I was playing Hellfest on Nuclear Blast.
That's a good point, actually, about Nuclear Blast. Is this your first album with them?
Yes, yeah. So really excited to be on Nuclear Blast. All my favourite bands are signed to that record label. So it's a real dream come true to be working with them. And I think we did put a lot of pressure on ourselves this time. When you're making an album for a record label that you've always admired and looked up to, I think you can internalize that pressure a bit. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out in the end.
So because you're with Nuclear Blast, did you do anything intentionally different on this album?
I don't think we sat down and wrote and consciously said, we need to write an album for a Nuclear Blast audience. But I would say there's definite themes that just happen to have occurred, in the sense of the two singles that we've released from this album, Faking It and Eternal Spirits are probably two of the heaviest songs we've written, and they've got some of the most metal riffs we've written in them. Like the end of Eternal Spirits is quite a straightforward metal riff for us. But then we've also, when you listen to the full album, we've swerved in so many other directions that we've got some of the softest tracks we've ever written. We've got tracks that have no shouting and no growl vocals on them, which is a first. So I don't think we ever sat down and deliberately tried to please the Nuclear Blast crowd with this album. But I do feel like, just from pure circumstance, because we've written something that's so heavy, hopefully their audience will appreciate it.
I think you'll find that will definitely be the case. Don't worry about that. You've done a great job here. But another thing I noticed was that, and I could be wrong here, but the Ranch House, or the Ranch Production House, you've worked with them ever since basically you guys have been creating albums. So what is it about? What is it about the positive symbiosis that you feel with the production team there?
With Lewis, our producer at the ranch, he creates a kind of space where you can really let go and you can really put every single emotion into your guitar playing or your vocal performance. It feels like a really kind of expressive environment. I think it's really important that you don't feel self-conscious around a producer. You feel like, a lot of the times when I record vocals, I end up crying because the lyrics mean so much to me, but Lewis provides a sort of space where that feels natural and accepted. It doesn't feel like maybe I'm going too hard or too deep. He's an amazing producer, and I think so much of it is about understanding what a band want. You can work with some producers who they have their own vision and they kind of want to impose that on every record they make because it's got their name attached to it. But with Lewis, it's like the other way around. I'd say he's a very selfless producer, and he's always thinking about serving the song and serving the album and creating the best tones that match the feeling of the music.
So how do you guys share ideas then? Is it the case where you're sharing ideas via the cloud, or do you still work on songs predominantly in a rehearsal studio?
We're super old school. I mean, we all get together in the room in person, which is difficult because half of us live in different cities, and riff it out together and jam things. Svalbard have never emailed each other a riff idea ever. We don't really do things digitally. I think I've worked like that on my solo project and stuff, but between Svalbard, we much prefer the in-person kind of vibing off of each other, that synergy that happens when you're all in a room concentrating on an idea together. But in terms of how it works, either Liam and I will write a riff and we'll come to the room with that riff, and then either of us will start putting something behind it. So usually it'd be the case that Liam comes in with like a rhythm riff and I'll write leads over the top of that. And then Matt will start working on bass lines and Mark will add his drums, and then we'll argue for about 5 hours. And then eventually a song will take place, and then I write all the lyrics after the entire album is done, because I tend to pick a theme that runs like a thread throughout the whole album and then extrapolate from that sort of more microcosms of lyrical themes for each song. So I don't write the lyrics until the whole music for the album is complete.
That's interesting. Okay. Are you inspired by the tone and the context of the music with your lyrical themes?
Exactly, yeah. I never just write lyrics off the bat just for the sake of lyrics. Like, to me, it has to really match the feeling of the music and where that feeling takes me and what that evokes in me for the lyrics.
Fantastic, yeah. And do you have things in the back of your mind in regards to the lyrical themes? Like, are you drawing on like things that are happening in society, or are they more things that are affecting you personally, your emotional state?
This album in particular, with The Weight of the Mask, is a very inward-looking album. It is all about personal experience. It's, the main central theme is about how depression and anxiety affects not just you personally, but your relationships around you. And how it can basically isolate you and build this wall inside you. And then you've got the mask side of the album, which talks about kind of pretending you're okay and feeling obliged. I guess that's the kind of more societal angle of this album, is that pressure to still put the smile on. And even though we talk about mental health much more now than we did 10 years ago, we don't talk about mental illness as much still. And there is still certain situations and scenarios where you really feel like you just have to put on the mask. But yeah, normally, I mean, on the previous 3 albums, there was a lot more direct political lyrics. And I've always gone for a kind of, I deliberately write in a very obvious, clear, almost like painfully concise manner, so that anyone can read the lyrics and understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to obscure anything in like poetic language, which I think metal suffers a lot from sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, but this album, it's all about how depressed I am. It's like reading my miserable diary for the last year.
Okay, yeah. But it's interesting. Do you blend those really personal, emotive lyrics in with the political statements? Or are they totally separate?
I would say I keep them separate. However, on The Weight of the Mask, this is a much more personal album anyway. So the elements, there's very few. I mean, it's not really a political album at all, but there's kind of maybe a sociological aspect to do with society's view on mental illness. But that is kind of weaved very, very subtly throughout. I wouldn't say it was like a dominant theme in the same way that the personal, glum, introspective theme is.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. What sort of music inspired you to do what you're doing now? Was there a catalyst? Did you say here in the Nightside Eclipse at some point and go, wow, that's something that I really want to do?
I can pinpoint a few bands that definitely influenced my guitar playing. So when I first heard Mono and I heard those beautiful reverb-drenched tremolo-picked leads, that definitely influenced what I played on guitar. But then also bands like Immortal, where they have that really kind of triumphant melodic atmosphere to the guitar playing. I think a lot of my influences aren't that obvious. So I'm really, really into soundtracks, especially game soundtracks. And a lot of the time when I'm writing melodies, I'm searching for that same bittersweet, evocative emotion that you get when you listen to the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack or the Skyrim soundtrack. Those are some of my most listened to pieces of music, and they really guide the feeling that I'm searching for when I'm creating a riff.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. What's your favorite album? The one that
all
really
time.
Yeah, why not? Let's go there.
Century Child by Nightwish.
I wouldn't have picked that, but that's a great choice, by the way. Yeah. Any particular reason?
I think it's the most depressing Nightwish album lyrically. There's like a real loneliness and desperation to some of the lyrics, but then there's also this kind of beautiful kind of almost like joyful atmosphere to the music. It's such a contrast, that album. But every song on it is amazing. I think Taya sounds the best she's ever sounded on that album. And yeah, I always think when I try and explain about Nightwish being my favorite band, the best way I can put it is that Nightwish is a feeling, and it's so specific. No other music or bands have the Nightwish feeling. And Century Child really encapsulates that best for me, I think.
Yeah, that's Tara. Have you met Taria before?
Yeah, I met her last year at a festival and I fangirled so hard.
She's a lovely lady, isn't she?
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah. Australia, have you been here before as a tourist or visited family or friends or what have you? And are you planning on coming down on the back of this album?
I have never been to Australia, and I assume you hear this a lot because I'm really scared of the huntsman spiders. And I'm convinced that I'm going to step off the plane and they're all just they're going to sense my fear and they're going to like make a beeline for me personally. So that's always kind of made me a bit scared. But at the moment we are looking to see what we can do, because I mean, it would be crazy to not come and play shows in Australia just because I'm scared of big spiders. So yeah, the band keep talking about getting me some kind of like airtight spider-proof suit, and then we can come and play some shows. But hopefully we will be playing some shows in Australia in the future.
Look, if you're here for a couple of days, I doubt you'll even see one. But when you live here, they're so common, you don't even notice they're around, to be honest with you. Just see one walking across the window or what have you, like, okay, there it is. But look, the other thing is they're not venomous either. So if they bite you, I've been bitten by one, they just sort of nip you. They don't sting or anything like that.
It's not the bites that worry me. It's the way they move, and the fact that they can move, 40 times their body size in 1 second. They're
Something
quick.
like that,
It's the speed. That alarms me most.
They scared the living daylights out of people here too. Don't worry about it. But it's the Sydney funnel-web spider is the most venomous spider in the world. I'm sure of that. And the redback, which is redback in particular, is a lot more common. But it's in like corrugated iron that hasn't been moved for ages. This sort of thing. It doesn't generally hang around the household, especially these days with all of the fumigation and stuff that goes on. But the Sydney funnel-web spider, they're the bastard ones we call them. The huntsman.
Okay.
Yeah, what it is, the truth is, if you see a huntsman, you've actually got a very healthy ecosystem around your house, because they're like a dominant insect, and it means that they're on top of the other spider populations as well, the ones that really can hurt you because they're much bigger.
Oh.
So, yeah, there's a couple of things that are a bit of a paradox, but that's one of them.
Oh, okay.
So I hope that makes you feel better about coming down.
I just have to get over it.
No worries. All right. Well, thanks very much for the chat. I really appreciate it. Good luck here with the album, The Way to the Mask. You've done a killer job with this one here, and hopefully see you soon.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. What do you think? That was Serena Cherry from the group Svalbard. Apparently there's quite a buzz happening around the band at the moment. I'm not really feeling it all the way here in far-flung Australia, but we haven't seen them on tour yet either, so maybe it's one of those things where when they come on tour there'll be a bit more of a local buzz, but certainly from what I understand it's all happening for them abroad. Now, if you enjoyed that chat, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. And if you like listening, I know you like reading because you're an intelligent audience. I've written a book. It's for you. Click on the link in the banner on the website. You'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You know what to do from there. Download a sample or otherwise. One thing I will say, need to add, is that if you do complete the purchase, please do hit me up because I want to thank you personally. I welcome any and all feedback. As you'll see from the reviews that are on Amazon, they're all legit. I don't know people that have put the reviews there. It's good to see anywhere from a 3 to a 5-star review. All right, so there's some more information to share with you about the book. Before we get to that, I'll bid you a fond farewell. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton. gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you. Look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
My name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot. And
we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.